A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Tonight, as part of our year-enders, we are diving deep into understanding entrepreneurship for 2025 and beyond, the evolving role of leaders and the pursuit of global impact. Tonight on the show, I'll be catching up with Shantanu Deshpande, founder and CEO, Bombay Shaving Company, on how it is navigating challenges and catering to the evolving consumer dynamics. Listen in. I'm now joined by Shantanu. Shantanu, welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow yet again. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
My privilege. Thank you so much for having me, and always lovely to spend time.
So Shantanu, 2024 has been a big year for Indian startups, with many making their public market debuts as well. So to start off, tell us, how has the year been for Bombay Shaving Company?
Yeah, so I think 2024 has been an amazing year for the ecosystem. Of course, Zomato has been the bellwether of all the startups in terms of taking a consumer tech business, really building out consumer love in the private markets, and then Dipinder, Albinder, and the entire Zomato and then Blinkit team actually translating that into public market success. So 2024, I think they have led the way, and then there are a lot of companies that went public. It was amazing to see the retail investor also kind of keep faith, the regulator,
right.
Kind of also allowing and making the ecosystem easier to list. So I think it's a very, very good, kind of progress and acceptance of the fact that startups are not only here to, kind of create a splash, but also create long-term sustainable value. So very encouraging for me as a founder of Bombay Shaving Company. See, this is our 9th year in the market. It's been 9 years. We're in a difficult category in the sense that we compete with extremely successful large businesses. Our categories are the kinds where, consumer loyalty is extremely high, so switching is much harder. But having said that, we have found our own. As Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay, we are brands in the hair removal space, personal care and fragrances space. We have found a way for to really target and segment well, and of course growth of channels like quick commerce, e-commerce, D2C, and consumer love, which keeps increasing if you keep giving out good products, keeps increasing. So from a number standpoint, FY24 we did around 218 crores in net revenue, which is a growth of roughly 20% over last year. Last year was a growth of almost 70% over the year before. So our growth has kind of been muted, but our profitability has become a lot more. So we went from roughly negative 38% in FY23 to roughly negative 17 to 18% in FY24. And currently, as we speak right now, we're actually a break-even EBITDA positive business. So last 1 year has actually been one of focusing on the right products, focusing on the right channels, and making the company efficient. And that's what public markets also taught us, and that's what we have done as well.
Now, Bombay Shaving Company faced losses in FY23, a reality many growing businesses are experiencing. So what were your biggest takeaways, and how do you plan to bounce back stronger in 2025?
Yeah, so I think losses makes it look like a failure. These are investments, okay? So the way an entrepreneur, at least someone in the consumer space like me, thinks about it is, do we have a gross margin profile that's sustainable?
Absolutely.
Okay? And even though we are in a low gross margin business like razors and trimmers, we have a very healthy gross margin of around 57% in FY24, which basically means that our ability to source, manufacture, design is actually very efficient. What we do spend money on is on marketing and customer acquisition, which over a period of time does take a lot more money than it creates for the first few years. But that's what brand building is about. So yes, we were loss making, but the way I would think about it is 4 years back, our losses were minus 120%. Then they came down to minus 70%, then minus 38%, then minus 17% in FY24, and now they're at zero. So that way we have seen that the company has kind of reduced losses. Now the losses have become profits, and the growth has also not been compromised. We believe that this is the right way to build out brands.
Sure.
Brands need long-term customer love. They need to survive in the market for periods of time, sometimes decades, and then the repeat maths kind of plays up, and the brand becomes very, very valuable and almost cash generating in a very healthy way. So yeah, that's that. It's a path. It's a long path. It's a path that requires patience. Sometimes it's a path that also tests you. But as long as you keep your eyes on the core metrics and keep the customer close, you'll build a successful business.
Now, Shantanu, you've been at the heart of India's entrepreneurial journey. How do you think the meaning of being an entrepreneur has changed in India over the years?
No, I would love to believe I'm at the heart of the entrepreneur journey, but I'm just someone who's who's tried to honestly build a company that consumers love. We've honestly tried to put really good products in the hands of consumers who need them, and I do love speaking very vocally about my journey, about the highs and the lows of it, because frankly, becoming an entrepreneur is not a financially rational decision. For most people, it's a high risk decision which has high mortality rate, high amount of stress, and a person in their right mind typically will not take that decision. So for me, but entrepreneurs genuinely are the ones who make magic happen. So for me, I think 10 years back it was very cool to be an entrepreneur. I think I became an entrepreneur in the funding boom of 2014, 15, 16. And then COVID kind of really muted some of our expectations. Then FY22, again 21, 22, again there was a huge wave and there were some founders there. But now I think entrepreneurship has reached a certain amount of social maturity. People know the risks involved, people know what's at stake. Also, it's not just something that people do for valuations and short-term fame and recognition. I think people do it for the right reasons, and that's a great thing. It's acceptable, to have that kind of risk appetite.
Sure.
And I think India needs thousands of more entrepreneurs. We need to create 1 million jobs a month. Won't happen if more entrepreneurs don't come out. So I'm glad that we are now maturing as an entrepreneur creating ecosystem.
Now, Indian consumers are evolving rapidly. Tell us what has surprised you the most about their behavior, especially in the grooming space.
I think there are some big themes, and I think they are well recorded in some of the reports that Bain and DSG Consumer and even the latest one by Kalari, right? I think it's very clear that 3-4 things are starting to happen. Number one, that there is clear premiumization. Okay, people are ready to spend a larger bunch of disposable income on things that, like, on experiences and things that they value. It could even be luxury and premium goods, right? So there is a clear premiumization. People are ready to spend out more money. The value sensitivity is a lot lesser.
Sure.
And you can see this with the Mercedes-Benz growth, for example, right? Or Red Bull growth, for example. You see some of these premium brands, you see how they are grown in the last 5-6 years. The second trend is, I think, India 2 and India 3, which is mostly semi-urban and non-urban India, is also becoming very aspirational. They have phones in their hands, they have access to the latest fashion trends, they have access to the latest hotels, latest flight experiences, most premium, things to buy in general, right? So you're seeing India 2 and India 3 becoming more aspirational, having more access and kind of coming on. I think the third thing that's happening in the consumer space is there is lesser loyalty towards incumbent brands, right? Earlier, if you're looking into the biscuit category, Britannia and Parle would have like the immediate, kind of purchase, propensity. But now people are like ready to try new things. If there's a new biscuit brand, they're ready to try it. New,
Absolutely.
razor brand, ready to try it. They're not as loyal. They're in fact looking for brands that appeal to their identity. So there are 3 things that are happening there. I think 1, premiumization, 2, India 2 and India 3 becoming aspirational and seeing more, and 3, overall consumer loyalties are dipping and people are ready to try more. I think the 4th thing is, I think channels are evolving very quickly, right? From quick commerce, which is putting everything in the hands of consumer in 10 minutes, to, Meesho, which has really shown how independent, smaller entrepreneurs can become big. I think channels are evolving, which, for example, for 20 years pre-COVID, we only had the modern trade revolution and then the e-commerce revolution, right? And the former did not really take off as much as we thought it would. So I think that's the 4th big one, which is channels are making these products and services accessible a lot easier at very attractive prices. So that way the consumer of today has a lot more choice, is spoiled for choice.
Now, building a multi-crore business from scratch is no small feat. What's your advice to entrepreneurs who have big dreams but don't know where to start?
Yeah, I think step number 1 is know what your risk appetite is. I think a lot of people are starry-eyed about becoming entrepreneurs. They idolize people, they watch podcasts, they see news articles about valuations and unicorns and this and that. I think the idea of entrepreneurship and the experience of entrepreneurship are two very different things. And the experience of entrepreneurship is actually a very high friction, high grind, low validation kind of an experience, right? Nobody cares about you. Your investors, your employees, nobody really cares except until your business starts making, returns for people, right? So don't embellish the idea of entrepreneurship in your head too much. Identify your risk appetite, identify how much time you're going to give this idea, really bake out the idea and the execution plan in your head. Try to think about all the things that you're going to throw at this idea, right? Whether it's people, whether it's capital, whether it's your own skills, whatever it is, you're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at it and then some to make it come to life, right? For example, with me, we had to design a razor almost 14 to 15 times, test it on our own faces, and cut ourselves for 2 years in 2015, 2016 before we had even something barely ready to go to market. So that'll be needed. So I think make the idea as banal and crude as possible in your head. Think about all the things you're going to throw at it from a resource standpoint. Minimize the risk and be clear about what it takes for you to press the pedal or walk away from it. Otherwise, it's just about, you'll end up just thinking about it and building castles and nothing will really happen in real life.
Sure.
So executing on it at the right time with the right amount of walk-away guardrails is what I will advise any young entrepreneur. But my broader theme is, it's great that you're thinking about it, but think hard and think detail.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12 in conversation tonight with Shantanu Deshpande, founder and CEO, Bombay Shaving Company. So your barbershop podcast has become a favorite among entrepreneurs and leaders. Did you imagine it would resonate so much when you started, and how has it really impacted your journey?
No, I did not. I did not imagine it to be as well received, as widely distributed as it has become. We've actually not spent any money on the podcast from a distribution standpoint. I'm very thankful to YouTube and Instagram and Spotify and all the companies who allow creators and podcasters to put their stuff out there for people to kind of access free of cost. So that's amazing. I had not expected this kind of spread.
Right.
For me, there are two things that have happened. One is, it is an extremely humbling experience to learn from such amazing people, right? We have had CEOs who have run companies for 20 plus years and are amazing operators who have come with their experiences, their learnings, their failures, everything that and they've actually been very honest and candid about it. I learned from other entrepreneurs like Aman from Boat, or Varun and Ghazal from Mama Earth, to Vinita from Sugar, to so many amazing founders who have come and shared their stories, again with a lot of humility and candor. Because sometimes if you see them on television or if you see them in interviews, sometimes it looks a lot more scripted, sometimes it looks a lot shorter, so you don't get to see flavor. But because of the barbershop's format, which is almost 2-hour discussions, it kind of really goes down a long winding road of emotions and feelings and experiences. So it's taught me a lot. The second thing is, it's done really well for the brand. So people who watch it immediately associate with the Bombay Shaving Company. It becomes advertising material because consumers don't like to be fed advertisements, they like to be fed content. And if the content is advertiserial, then that's good, right? So in that way, it's done very well for the brand. So overall, it's just been a win-win, and frankly, it's just something that we want to keep building on and making it better and bigger every year.
Shantanu, you're known for speaking your mind, which has earned both praise and criticism. Do you think it's important for entrepreneurs today to have a strong voice, or it doesn't matter?
Yes, I do think that freedom of speech is important. I do think that entrepreneurs who have had anyone actually, not only entrepreneurs, but anyone who has lived an experience, who has a point of view, who has a vantage point that is very unique to him or her, should share that with a view to let other people be equally educated, open up their minds, kind of at least trigger a discussion that might be important.
Definitely.
Sure, sometimes, some things that I might have said might have been met with a certain amount of disagreement, but that's okay. Disagreement is helpful. I think we only progress when we disagree and we discuss things in a certain amount of detail. There are different positions and points of view on certain topics, and that's how we evolve our own civilization and mental understanding of things. Is when we talk these issues out and we discuss them. And entrepreneurship has put me in a place of privilege and a point where I can actually start some of these discussions. So I'm a strong believer that people should speak their minds, entrepreneurs and other people. I also believe that you should speak your mind with a certain amount of thought. Like you shouldn't shoot from the hip. So there is a certain responsibility to your words also. You can't just, freedom of speech doesn't mean that you can go and run your mouth without thinking. So my premise here is, if you have thought it through, you have done the research, you have spoken to enough people, and you have developed a well-researched point of view on a particular topic. It could be an entrepreneurial topic, or it could be a social topic, political topic, whatever it might be. You absolutely have every right, and might I even stretch it to say, you have an obligation to air it. And my belief is, if everyone does that, we move forward as society. So that's a cool thing.
So on that note, tell us, how important is it for a founder today to build their personal brand alongside their company's brand? Do you think there needs to be synergy between the two, or can they stand for entirely different things?
I do feel like a founder's personal brand matters. I do feel, especially in the case of consumer brands like my own, today's consumer is young, they're internet savvy, they're mobile, and they are actually seeking to associate with, buy, and keep products and services that identify with their values. And people are not buying brands anymore, they are buying the people behind the brand. So Elon is a classic example. Most people who buy a Tesla car buy it because they want to associate with Elon Musk in some shape or form, right? And that's a very extreme example. In my case, for example, someone who watches a barbershop episode and maybe likes a few things that I have said about entrepreneurship and thinks that they are the right things for that person, might go into a store tomorrow and buy my razor over a competition razor. And if a lot of people keep doing that, then my personal brand has helped my business also. Having said that, I think even in other contexts, for example, today when I enter a meeting with, let's say, a account manager with a large buyer, the fact that they have seen me on LinkedIn or on YouTube matters. Like, I don't have to start from scratch when I'm in the room.
Sure.
My content has sold my company and me to my buyer long before the meeting has started, right? So there is just a lot of upside to it. The risk, of course, is that when you build a brand for yourself which is large, it should not overshadow your company's brand. So I am the founder of Bombay Shaving Company. If Bombay Shaving Company did not exist, nobody will come and watch the barbershop. I can guarantee you of that. I am who I am because my company is what it is. The reverse doesn't work. So if there are people whose personal brands are huge, and then they're starting a company on the side,
right,
which is kind of small and is a side hustle, that doesn't work. The company is the main star, and the founder's personal brand kind of feeds it in a way. And then that's the beautiful thing, and that's very valuable to build out.
Now, what do Indian businesses need to do to leave a lasting mark, not just in India, but globally? Are we missing something, or is this just the beginning?
I think we need to make our own stuff. I think over the next 10 years, we need to start, our net imports have to become net exports. We need to build out manufacturing. We keep talking about manufacturing a lot, but the numbers are only decreasing. If you look at any of the talent coming out of our top colleges, whether it's IITs or whether it's Delhi University or any of the colleges in India, I don't know if more than 5 to 10% of people want to go into manufacturing and become great makers. The world's biggest innovators through the 19th and 20th centuries, which actually created the Industrial Revolution, the biggest innovators are people who actually made things with their hands and built factories and kind of put things in consumers' hands. And I think we have lost that. And in India, we have been a more IT and service first, agriculture, IT service first kind of economy. Manufacturing has been in pockets like automotive, but not mainstream at all. We need to attract capital. We need to coach our young talent on becoming manufacturing experts. Companies like mine have to stop depending on imports and start making on their own. We have to be equipped with government support to be able to take that leap, because just saying that Shantanu should make razors in India or Shantanu should make trimmers in India, it's not going to just happen overnight, right? Everyone needs to come together for that dream to become a reality in the next 3-4 years, right? So We are getting there, but I think the speed of that can be a lot faster, and everyone has to come together for manufacturing to kind of really become core to India. So I think that's one big theme, right, in terms of we should make our own. We keep talking about make in India, this and that, but I think the numbers should start following. Second thing is I think we really need to focus on skill building and education at a vocational level. I genuinely feel a lot of our engineering graduates are not engineers. They have to be coached after they have graduated by the company that's hiring them to do the engineering job that they were supposed to have learned in college. So I think our education and skill building is still kind of significantly way behind, especially from a vocational standpoint, and that also needs to improve. Baki, I think we're okay. We do. I think we are incredibly good on a lot of other fronts, but I think these two things from an entrepreneurial standpoint have to improve. Of course, public health, public sanitation, and migration of people above the poverty line. We should not let go of that. So I think that's more a government mandate than it is a India Inc. mandate, but never should take the eye off the ball on that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Shantanu. This was a great conversation. Hope to speak to you soon again.
I hope people enjoy it. Ritwika, you're always a pleasure to talk to, and thank you for hosting me on this.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.